This is the Sunshine Coast Mark and Caroline on 92.7 Mix FM.
Is this the real Tony Martin?
It's not the German cyclist, if that's who you're expecting.
No, I was expecting, isn't it Bob from East Street? Wasn't he Tony Martin? I was hoping
Yeah,
it
the
was
Reverend
him.
Bob.
The Reverend
I
Bob.
was accused of stealing his royalty checks a few years back by Actors Equity.
Were you really? And what were they worth, just out of interest?
I can't imagine. I was saying to them, you're not suggesting I'm getting rich off, Reverend Bob royalties all these years later. He was also, wasn't he the headmaster on Heartbreak High, I think?
He was.
Yeah.
He definitely was. He
He
was
was
like
also-
the hot headmaster, actually.
Yeah. And he was also Nettie Smith in the
Nettie Smith in Blue Murder,
Yeah.
and the bad guy in Inspector Gadget 2. Which I think he should have just played as Nettie Smith. That would have been great. Like
Indeed.
Inspector Gadget being accused of police corruption and hanging out with Roger Rogerson. That would have been great.
And he had plenty of hands to hide the money too. Inspector
right.
Gadget, you know.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Tony, we were really excited when the books landed in. Deadly Kerfuffle. Come on, give us a commercial radio 37-second rundown of the book.
Oh, I can only do 35, but all right. Well, it's about some New Zealanders who moved to Australia and are mistaken for a terrorist cell, and chaos ensues.
Yes, I love it. Deadly Kerfuffle. It's a beautiful name. I haven't read it yet. I cannot wait. But I'm kind of thinking, because you've been long term in radio, and I've got my hot little hands on it. It's, should I read it and amuse myself in the lead up to Christmas, or wrap it, give it to my husband, and read it after that?
Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to be honest, when we were doing radio shows, and you'd get 5 or 6 books arriving every week, and you can't read all of them.
No.
So there is a lot of bluffing, when you're interviewing
This
an
is
author.
true.
And the last book I had out, I went on a marathon tour of radio stations and phoning into radio stations like this, and I did 65 radio interviews, and I counted 35 where the announcer's favourite bit was the opening paragraph of the book. And you can tell it's obviously about 2 minutes before the interview. They go, oh, where's the book? Well, okay, I'll just read the first page. I mean, seriously, you would have to read 500 books a year.
Is there nothing you can do? You can't do. Sorry.
Well, as I say in interviews, why do one thing properly when you can do a number of things with middling success? So,
And I have done a little bit of a Google around this morning, and something I did not know about you. You grew up in a really tiny, tiny town in New Zealand. On top of that, you spent a lot of time out to sea with your dad, who was an amateur marlin fisherman.
yeah, that's right. Well, I grew up in Tikawiti, which is known as the sheep-shearing capital, not of New Zealand, but of the world.
Oh, wow.
So it is
Wow.
literally ground zero for all of those sheep jokes that Australians love so much. But then I moved to, there's a very complicated family tree. As I always say, the council are constantly asking us to prune it back. But I've had a number of stepdads, and one of them, he was a Marlin fisherman, so we were basically living at sea for whole parts of the year, which sounds glamorous, but it's really quite
it
boring
doesn't.
when you're a
Yes.
nerd.
Yeah. And I can't imagine you're dropping a line in to hook up a marlin.
I'm really good at all of that. I've sat in the chair from Jaws where you're strapped in, I remember my mum catching an 8-foot hammerhead shark.
Oh, my God. But did your stepdad kind of look at you like, oh, God, I've been lumbered with this nerd?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
He just wondered who... Because I think at one point when I was a child, I was being dressed in a little sailor suit, like Little Lord Fauntleroy or something. He's going, what the hell have I inherited here? He was determined to impress everyone in our town by coming back from a fishing trip with he wanted to catch like a 15-foot marlin. That was his whole thing. And I remember when my mum caught a shark, he was furious, and she was reeling it in, and he's like, "Hey, I'll do the end." He's taken over so that in the photos it looks like he's caught a shark. And of course, the hammerhead. Do you have the hammerhead shark in Australia?
Yeah, I'm
Is that-
sure they're around.
Yeah, sure do.
It's not a long swim for a shark between here and New
No,
Zealand.
but when you're a kid, at least in New Zealand, you're constantly told, if you're ever attacked by a shark, what you do is you punch it on the nose.
Oh, yeah.
How hard is it to wind up a punch underwater? Like punching a shark on the nose, I don't reckon that'd be very easy. But when you're up against the hammerhead, I mean, which part is the nose?
Yes, I don't know. I think you'd get it in the eye. I think you'd aim for the eye more.
It sounds a lot easier than, you know what I mean? No one's going to punch a shark in the nose in a shark emergency, are they?
Well, I mean, Mick Fanning managed to pull it off, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, that's right. There's a couple of Australians who can do it.
Tony Martin, thanks very much for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys, and, have a good break over the coming Festivus.
Shut up, you city folk. We're going to be here till Christmas Eve.
Yeah, we will.
Oh, that's true. You never want to leave your job in radio.
Tony Martin, thanks very much for your time, mate.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.